I'm focused on the spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, hello. This is Christine Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we'll be talking about Donald Trump releasing some pro-lifers. And so that was what we were waiting for. And so I'm glad that that happened. And there was one mother in particular who a lot of pro-life activists have been following, Beverly. And so she is free. And so there's some chatter on Twitter of folks calling out Lila Rose and abolitionists because they're happy, obviously, that these people are released, but they had criticisms of Donald Trump that definitely could have hindered Donald Trump winning the election. So they're kind of like, don't be happy now. You guys almost blew it, or some of you didn't help him win. So I have thoughts I want to share regarding that. There's also rumors about the Obamas and Jennifer Aniston and divorce rumors swirling and stuff. And I don't usually do gossip, but I guess it's hard for me to believe. So it's definitely interesting. It's just I have some thoughts that I want to, I guess, kind of walk through with you guys. But I think what Jennifer said when she was first kind of confronted about rumors was a little strange anyway. So even that's enough to kind of talk about. But to me, it's just so unbelievable because it's so stupid. And I guess men can do stupid things, but there's odd things going on that people are just speculating because she wasn't at the inauguration, and people were like, something's got to be up. And we talked about it, how weird it was for her to not be there. I think we just talked about that maybe yesterday. So anyway, we'll be talking about that. And I'd like to finally tell you guys about my experience at the inaugural ball. So anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys, go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all that good stuff, so you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also support by looking at different merch that we have at the store. So I encourage you guys to check out some of my stuff, some of my t-shirts and stuff. And I also have different books you guys can check out. You guys can find me on Amazon. I have a link in my description that should take you to my Amazon page. Slay Your Fear is one of my nonfiction books. My other nonfiction book is, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. And then I have a ton of fiction books. Now, all my fiction books, just FYI, if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you guys can read all of those through Kindle Unlimited. So, go ahead and check out my stuff and let me know if you like it. So I love to write, and I was working on something earlier today, and I can't wait to get some more stuff out, especially my children's book. I have this is like just some concept art. Cannot wait for Bigger to be finished. My sister said she just has a couple more sketches to go. Look how cute he is. Look how cute the baby dinosaur is. So he has dreams of wanting to be bigger. So it's just a great little story. So I'll let you guys know, of course, when that is finished. I don't think we have any other kind of announcements beyond that. So we can just go ahead and I guess jump to just jump to the story. So anyway, first things first, Donald Trump pardoned 23 pro-life activists, and I am happy about it. People wanted him to do it on day one. Not sure why it wasn't a day one thing. I was talking to my sister about it. I'm like, is he waiting um for the right to life march or march for life rally to do it? I don't know. But he's got to do it because he's obviously must know. People in his circle must have told him. There's people who are loudly advocating for it. It seems like a obvious positive move, you know. And if he's going to do everybody from Jan 6, it just seemed obvious that he should do this for the pro-lifers. So he did do it. So let me go ahead and share this. He might have did it while we were even having a show yesterday because I don't it happened afterwards. So otherwise we would have definitely talked about it.
Next, we have a set of pardons for peaceful pro-life protesters who were prosecuted by the Biden administration for exercising their First Amendment rights.
Do you know how many?
I believe it's 23, sir.
23 people were prosecuted. They should not have been prosecuted. Many of them are elderly people. They should not have been prosecuted. This is a great honor to sign this. They'll be very happy. So they're all in prison now.
Some are out of custody.
It's ridiculous.
Next, we have a set of pardons for peaceful.
Didn't mean to let that repeat, but yes, he signed it. He said it's ridiculous. Some of them are elderly, and he is correct about that. So 23 people got to go home. And so there's lots of conversations that people are having about illegal immigration and saying things like, oh, there's going to be people separated from their families. And something that has always been obvious is that if people commit crime, they are separated from their families. That's what we do with people who commit crime. And so as I've been hearing people say that lately, I keep thinking about Beverly being separated from her husband, being separated from her child. And I'm like, you Democrats didn't seem to mind when you wanted to separate this pro-life activist from her child, separate that child from their mother, because she had this noble goal of trying to stop the slaughter of innocent children. So she gets to go to jail and be separated from her child. But you want to cry all day long and night over people who came here illegally, put their children in danger, some of them sending their children over here with coyotes. And in some instances, we lose track of those children. And people are willing to do all kinds of dangerous things. And she was trying to save children. So anyway, Beverly was released, and here's a video of her returning with her family.
Look at mama. Look at us. I got your jacket. Yeah. Woo! Go.
She's so happy. Reunited with her child. Reunited with her family. I didn't see any Democrats crying and upset because she was upset with her child.
It don't matter if you're in the pit of hell. No. Somebody gonna smell good. No. Girl, you know they gonna sing.
Got that dark MAGA hat on.
I can't hold on my baby.
So I'm very glad to see her out. And I said I've been following Beverly forever. She's a great person. She's a fighter for sure for life. You know, I'm sure that people will um not find themselves to be persecuted or prosecuted as harshly as the Biden administration was during, their tenure, their time in the White House. Their DOJ, Trump's DOJ will not probably go after pro-lifers in the same with the same ferocity, obviously, if they violate the FACE Act. Some people want to just go ahead and get rid of the FACE Act. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off, but it's wild to me if you think about all the people who were protesting outside of Kavanaugh's house and Chief Justice Roberts' house when they wanted Roe v. Wade to not be overturned, and they were clearly protesting to intimidate, to change judicial rulings, which was a federal law that they were, I think it was federal, not state, but it was a law that they were breaking. I don't know why that was allowed to continue. And there was someone who actually tried to kill Brett Kavanaugh. So it was really nice to see Brett alive and at the inauguration swearing in JD Vance. So, those people didn't really have consequences. A lot of BLM stuff, you didn't see people with big consequences. You saw Kamala Harris wanting to help those people, bail them out, and it's just been a double standard for sure. For sure. So very glad that Trump did that. It's not something that I would have expected a President Kamala Harris to do. So people are, of course, applauding it. Lila Rose is applauding it, uh, you know, and other people on the right are applauding it. And people are not just applauding it; they're calling out pro-lifers who were calling out Trump. Now, Lila Rose came out strong when Donald Trump was saying things that were contrary to the pro-life message. And we talked about that at the time. And I very openly criticized Trump for times when, frankly, he was just pro-choice. So people are celebrating JD Vance going and speaking at the March for Life today. Trump has done in the past. Trump sent a video. And so they've been very, pro that march. And on top of releasing these pro-life activists and giving them pardons, folks are saying, again, something that people have said repeatedly, that he's the most pro-life president of our lifetime. Now, I would like that to be true. My issue with that right now is at least how he's campaigned and kind of presented himself for the past 2 years is that he's not actually pro-life. If you're pro-life, you're pro the right to life. If you're pro-choice, you're pro people having the right to choose whether they are going to choose abortion. So if you say things like heartbeat bills are terrible and you only kind of make it known that you're not okay with late term abortion, then majority of the abortions, and you are just kind of letting happen, he said he didn't want to do anything about the pill, which is the number one way in which people have abortions. And of course they changed the RNC platform. We covered that at the time, and there were a lot of there was just suppression of people's voices. It wasn't done in the way that rules committees had been done in the past, where people really got to ask questions and think about it and have committees and breakdowns and stuff. They really bulldozed it through, took people's phones, they marked them with different numbers so people would know if someone leaked one thing or another, and really intimidated the pro-life activists who wanted to make sure that life was affirmed in the platform. And when people were upset about it, the attitude was just kind of like, well, where are you guys going to go? And so that was a big question, because there are people who felt like we shouldn't reward bad behavior, and the only thing we have to leverage is our vote. So there were people who are really who make pro-life activism their life. That's their business. That's their personality, pretty much. That's what they do. That's their calling. Who weren't um really calling out what I would say is bad behavior. And Lila Rose was one of the few people who were doing that. And so people started attacking her and saying that there is a pro-life grift, and trying to look into how much money the organization makes, how much people get paid, and really trying to do character assassinations, when I feel that she did the right thing, trying to call out something that he was doing that was contrary to the pro-life message. And people could say there's other things going on, there's other things that are really important in the country, and that's true. But if you don't get life right, the valuing of human beings, and saying, well, we don't have any, first of all, we don't have any rights if we don't have the right to life. If we don't have an inalienable right to life, our rights are subjective anyway. Throw out the whole God-given rights and natural rights and stuff. Like, if they're just decided when you, I don't know, you just reach a certain utility or whatever for society, whatever metric that we use to grant personhood. So there's lots of problems that just erupt from not having the proper correct concepts. And once you stop valuing life as being something that's intrinsically valuable, you can see how people can have such messed up thinking to do terrible actions throughout life, including taking someone else's life and being vicious and brutal and violent as they deprive you of your future conscious experiences. So it's a very important issue to get right, period. So I wanted him to do better, be better, but if they feel like you can do anything and be rewarded for it, then that's a problem. And everybody kind of just simping and letting themselves be screwed over, announcing to the world that we're surrendering our, how relative we are. That's not a great thing. So there was this attitude of, where else are they going to go? And so a lot of people were conflicted. And to be frank, I think you guys know I was a bit conflicted, because this is bad behavior. They're sending out mailers saying common sense abortion policies, and that just enraged me when I shared that with you guys. And so at the end of the day, you couldn't play chicken with the country, because Kamala Harris is a million times worse. And there were things that he was going to do that would be good, and hopefully they would do things that are life affirming. Now, Donald Trump doesn't actually have much ideology, and he is persuadable. So it's my mind, like, he needed to be rebuked on some things, but she needed to be utterly defeated and destroyed, like, at the ballot box. Okay. So Lila Rose, she didn't tell people not to vote for Trump. Like, it was kind of dangling in the air, like that's a possibility. But I don't remember her saying explicitly not to. And at the end of the day, she did tell people to do it. So her trying to leverage her vote and her power was something that she's a single voter person, and her life's work is a single issue sort of thing. So I don't understand why people were so angry at her for sticking to her guns and her principles. But obviously, we got a win yesterday with him pardoning the pro-lifers. Now, pardoning 23 people is good. We still have 1 million children who are killed every year, and that's obviously very bad. So we can be very happy that we got this win and that Beverly got to go home to her family and other people get to go home to their family, and we don't have to have all those elderly people in jail. Like, we can be very, very happy about that. But that doesn't mean that we just kind of roll over and just simp for the rest of forever. Now, people are the Daily Wire, their journalist on the ground, they have like a DC correspondent now, was reporting that JD Vance going to the March for Life is a good signal, and of this administration being a pro-life administration. So we'll see. Donald Trump hasn't signaled that there's going to be a huge sort of change from the things he was saying on the campaign trail, but he also, like, right after he won, said that, signaled that if he's introduced into information, then he'll change his mind. Like, he decided to become the father of IVF because he had a conversation with Katie Britt and didn't know much about it. And she's like, oh, some people are upset in my state because it's going to be gone and stuff. But he didn't know anything much about it. So she explained her 2 cents. And so he was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna make some policy. We're gonna do this. So I don't know how many, I mentioned the other day, I don't know if he's actually watched what happens. I don't know how much he can explain it. Like, late term stuff, he'll say they rip the babies from the womb and stuff, but even the earlier abortions are still very brutal. So I think he's persuadable, and I would encourage people out there who don't think he's going far enough to pray, for him, and pray that the right people get around him. JD, hopefully he'll have some really good influence on him. Though I did not like JD Vance's answers on the debate stage, as he kind of danced around the abortion issue a bit. And in the past, he's had more profound pro-life advocacy stuff on his platforms and things that were changed, obviously, when he became the VP candidate and had to represent Trump's vision. But I hope that we'll just see a lot of really good outcomes, defunding Planned Parenthood and, stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see. Very glad about the pardons. I don't think that people should give Lila Rose a hard time. As far as like the abolitionists who wouldn't vote for him at all and they're happy, they can be happy. They didn't contribute to the victory, but they can still be happy about the outcome. That's just, life. And, Ben Shapiro was very happy about Trump's first term, and he didn't vote for him the first time around, and he came around and became a very big cheerleader for him. So their thing is, if they're vowing to do things that they see as evil, then they're not going to participate in that, but they pray for him and hope that he does the right thing. So some people do things and they're grifting, and they're not consistent, and there's a ton of people like that online. And if there are people who have principal positions and you disagree with them, but they have principal positions, you may not like them, and you can, I guess, talk your talk, but at least have some bit of respect, I guess. But these outcomes are reasons that I know I had people on the fence who watched me and had some similar concerns that I had, and were convinced to go ahead and pull the trigger. Maybe because even I did a video talking about why Trump would be better and Kamala would just be terrible for Christians. And I had a list of reasons that I gave. I think that video was maybe about 5 minutes long, and I posted a couple different places. And yeah, we wouldn't see Kamala doing these sorts of things. We'd be seeing her preparing to try to codify Roe v. Wade. That probably one of the first things that she would have wanted to do. And trying to make Christians pay for it is just like insane, and participate in it is just insane. So good on Trump. Good Trump. Ben Shapiro would have this thing, good Trump, bad Trump. And he talked about things that he did that were good, and obviously things that were bad. And this was definitely good Trump. And I hope we continue with some good Trump stuff. Anyway, let's move on to these crazy rumors now I about Obama. Now I don't like to engage that much in gossip. It's not a great thing, but it's going everywhere, and people are talking about how Michelle didn't show up to Jimmy Carter's funeral, and they're talking about how she didn't show up to the inauguration. Now, yesterday we talked about her not showing up to the inauguration. And my opinion on Michelle Obama not showing up to the inauguration was similar to Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club. Like, if she doesn't like Trump, because those were like the reports from like close people that she didn't want to go and sit there and be with, in front of this dude that she doesn't like, and after she talks so much crap about him. And I'm like, I kind of respect that position. Like, if you said what you said, like, I wouldn't want it to be there just sitting there. And I thought it was, strange for Obama to just be laughing it up next to Trump at Carter's funeral. I didn't think it was a good look after you said all the garbage about Trump. It's just it just comes off so fake and insincere. So if she was like, I ain't dealing with that man, I ain't fooling with that man, I don't like that man, I'm not going to his inauguration. He didn't even go to Biden's inauguration. I respect that. I respect that. But I said it still didn't really look good for Obama to go and her not go with him. And Charlemagne did mention her line, we go high, they go low, or they go low, we go high. Not showing up wasn't going high, and that's your line that you coined. Now, that's what she said. She doesn't always live her life that way, and I could point out examples. I'm not too fond of Michelle. I'm not too fond of Barack. But not showing up and your husband goes, that didn't seem right to me, because and I don't think all churches do this. Maybe it's just a black church thing. I don't know. But and it's probably not even all black churches, but growing up, we would just refer to the woman married to the pastor as the first lady. And I didn't really realize other people didn't do that until my sister did a skit about it on TikTok, and then people were like, "What are you doing? Like, what do you mean first lady?" So I just kind of thought everybody did that. People in the comments can let me know. Do you call your pastor's wife the first lady? So my dad, he would travel all the time. My mom is a homebody. I mean, she likes going to the movies and other stuff like that. She likes going to church, but she doesn't like to travel and go to everybody's church. And she's got a lot of kids, and housewife. She just didn't like to go out too much. And she's my dad's visited a lot of countries. She's only went with him to Mexico. And that was just a couple of years ago. So, she just didn't go out much. He would take us along, and he'd preach and we'd sing and stuff, but she just didn't like to go too many places. Now that started changing later in life, and he started asking her to go more, and she didn't love to go, but she would go with him if he said, Isabel, I want you to go. Maybe she'd sigh a little bit, and then she'd go upstairs and she'd change, and she would go with him. So if Obama was like, I'm going to the inauguration, I'm a former president, he's the president now, decorum, all that stuff, peaceful transfer of power, we gotta look like we gotta go high even though they go low, that's our role here. And she was like, nope, I'm good. That seems like a failure in wifely duty there. that seems like a failure in wifely duty. I can understand her not wanting to go if that was indeed the main reason, or I guess the reason why she didn't want to go. What were there other reasons? Now, other people were speculating, was there something wrong with her? Like, is there, like, physically? Because she didn't go to the inauguration. We can kind of understand that, but she didn't go to Carter's funeral. And people reported that she had some kind of other obligation. But how many presidential funerals can you go to? And it's a Democrat president. So it's just very strange that she didn't go to that. So I guess prior to these strange things happening, there were rumors about Obama and Jennifer Aniston. And so people are speculating that that's part of why Michelle didn't want to go. And I'm like, these are weird rumors. And but there's more than TMZ and stuff talking about it. So Megyn Kelly talked about it the other day. We'll just show you a snippet of her talking about it. Her video on this got like 1 million views the other day on YouTube. And people are talking about it on TikTok and all kinds of different places. Meghan McCain mentioned it the other day on her show, which Meghan will bring it up. So anyway,
to be some momentum picking up in the rumor mill about their marriage. First, on January 15th, in the Substack of Jessica Reed Krause, also known as House and Habit, she posts the following. Michelle Obama's absence at Jimmy Carter's funeral certainly raised some eyebrows, but yesterday's announcement that she won't be attending Trump's inauguration confirms something is definitely going on between her and Barack. Whispers about cracks in their relationship have been circulating in D.C. for over a year now, but this feels like the first public proof of a marriage on the rocks. If I had to guess, they will wait until after the inauguration to announce it. Timing, is everything. And yet the story doesn't end there. For months, I've heard Jennifer Aniston's name tied to Barack. Then Jessica cites a DM she received the day before. Quote, "He's with Jennifer Aniston. My old manager, now a friend, is connected to her inner circle. At a gathering with Jennifer's friends, the affair came up casually. Jennifer herself admitted it. They were sitting with a psychic, which makes it sound surreal, but it's definitely not a secret among her closest friends." Then yesterday, Meghan McCain had a discussion about this on her show, suggesting she is hearing the same. She had on Tara Palmieri, who's a reporter, saying, "Fast and furious loud, I've been hearing this rumor about the Obamas getting a divorce from reputable people. I'm not talking about TMZ," she says. "I'm talking about very serious journalists telling me they are hearing that the Obama divorce rumors are true." And Tara, who's a senior political correspondent for Puck, says, "I've certainly heard it for a while too, even before Michelle said she wasn't coming to the inauguration." I do not know whether this is true at all, but if it is true, it truly would be a political earthquake in Democrat circles. Never mind America. I don't remember a presidential divorce in
modern history. Yeah, that's it's really hard for me to believe. Well, first of all, after even let's say even if it were true, that doesn't mean that they're going to do that. There could be talk. That doesn't mean they're going to do that. There was so much talk from folks after Hillary Clinton lost the election. Like there's no more reason for her to stay together with Bill, and saying that Bill's got side people or whatever anyway. And but they're still together. They didn't divorce. And they're credible people with very inside kind of knowledge that I heard talking about, I don't know, just people being sure that wasn't going to last. And we know there's all kinds of issues with Hillary and Bill, but I mean, they're still together, and maybe that's for, I don't know, been together a long time. Maybe it's still politically convenient. Maybe it's just public appearances. And divorce is terrible. Like I don't know how many people are like, I haven't seen anybody like salivating over the story really, but it's a terrible thing if any of this is true. And I don't like Michelle. I don't like Barack, but even people who don't like them still look at their marriage and like, oh, seems like they have a nice marriage. Seems like he's a good dad and loves his kids, and they're a good picture for like an American family, and they don't have crazy stories like the Bidens, or multiple marriages and stuff like the Trumps. And they've just kind of been a standard to a lot of people. And like, I don't look that closely at strangers or whatever, but other people do. So it would just really be just a bummer on a national scale, and just in general it would be sad. It's not a good thing for marriages to in general, you know. Um so I hope it's not true, and it just seems so stupid as well. And Obama is someone who seems to really care about his legacy, and it just seems like a really big risk to engage in something that would obviously embarrass your family and taint yourself. So to me it seems really really hard to believe, because Obama, I mean, men can do stupid things when loins are involved, I guess, but he's just really not a stupid person. So I'm not jumping on this train to really believe it, but it's so, you guys got to tell me what you think. I'm just trying to cover the news, I guess. But I guess this is the news of what people are reporting and gossiping about. But now this is weird though. So Jennifer Aniston was asked about rumors, and this is from October, um, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some kind of headline about it, and she talked about it, and I thought her response was weird.
The magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago in touch said the truth about Jen and Barack. So that is
They're all laughing, and it says Michelle betrayed as Aniston steals her husband's attention.
That's kind of, that was of all the calls you get from your publicist where you're just like, oh no, what's it going to be? Or the email saying, some cheesy tabloid is going to make up a story, and then it's that.
yeah. Does
I
your
was not
publicist
mad
ever
at
go
it.
like, is there any truth to this, or is it?
No, that is absolutely untrue.
Well, I know it's not true. I
Yeah.
just don't know if everybody knows.
Well, it is untrue.
Some people, it is untrue. So the truth about Jen and Barack is that there is no truth.
There is
It
no
untrue.
truth.
You know Barack Obama.
I've met him once.
Met him once.
I know Michelle more than him.
What is there a truth about you and Michelle that we should know?
That is not true.
So, knowing that,
So some people are like, oh, after hearing these rumors and seeing that, I totally believe it. But what I thought was so weird was, she's like, when the publicist contacts you and says all these, and you think about all these crazy things that could come out, and this is the thing, she said, I'm not mad at that. And that's a weird thing to say, I think. Don't you guys think that's a weird thing to say? Like, oh, I'm not mad about that rumor. Like, you're not mad at a rumor about you breaking up a marriage and being the president's whore? Like, I it's just a weird thing for me. It's a weird thing for me. I wouldn't want to be associated with anything like that. So that's a pretty weird reaction to that. I mean, immediate no. And she did deny it. They laughed about it. But saying I'm not mad at it when this is like America's president that was historic, and so many people, he's so beloved, and to be accused of being a homewrecker, I just wouldn't be laughing like that. And I know people come up with rumors or whatever all the time, but she's been, especially with like Brad and Angelina and like all that kind of messy stuff, it just it doesn't come off as weird. I'd have just been like, that's not true. Like, and I know it's a late night show and people are trying to get jokes, and people were laughing, but I wouldn't have said I'm not mad at that one. What are the ones are you not mad at? What does it take for you to get upset? You know, if a magazine saying that she's carrying an alien's baby, that's like one you kind of laugh at. Breaking up a family, I just don't. Yeah, I don't. It's just a weird response to me. You guys can let me know what you think. RC said it would be sad if they get a divorce because of the cheating on your wife. Yeah, that would absolutely be sad. I haven't I've seen like partisan people mention this stuff, and it's starting to come up on my algorithm on different socials, and um I haven't seen anyone like yes about it, like haha, or I've seen people in comments make some jokes, same kind of like Michelle jokes that you typically hear, but it would be sad, and I just it's just hard for maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive. And there are times when I certainly can be, but it just seems like the craziest thing in the world if there's any truth to this. But that doesn't mean the world will ever know, and that doesn't mean that they're actually going to even if it were true, that doesn't mean that they're actually going to divorce. But if there were rumors like this and I was unaware of that rumor, and apparently other rumors must be going around if other journalists are hearing about it, there's no way I wouldn't have showed up to the inauguration and Jimmy Carter's funeral. There's no way. There's no way that I wouldn't have just sucked it up and went there. And it just seems like she's mad about something, and it's something more than Trump. There's no way I wouldn't have gone. There's no way. I think I'm done with that topic. I think I'll just start repeating stuff. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments about all that. I know some people are going to give him the benefit of doubt just because I don't it just seems too stupid and horrible. And not that I don't think Obama he's done some horrible things, and I don't think he has the best character, but with different choices that he's made, like I talked about how he pushed the very fine people hoax, like there's political things that he's done that I don't like, and the push for abortion, that's evil obviously, but I don't know, it's stupid, and it's just hard for me to wrap my brain around it, especially because it would damage his how people view him. And to me it seems like that's really important to him. Like even when they talk about the election, it's not like what we did. It's not what the Democrats did wrong. It's not obviously what Obama did wrong that might have started steering Democrats in the wrong direction. It's just about how basically the country has failed him. Like he's such an arrogant dude. It just seems like I don't know. We'll have to follow it and see what happens. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that happened at the ball. Because I didn't get a chance to really talk about it. So I went to the inauguration. We left on Sunday night. Sunday afternoon. I'm in Michigan, so that's about an 8.5 hour drive. And so we wanted to do it. We wanted to go to church that day. There were other like engagements. They're like, oh, there's going to be this after party with influencers you can go to. And we're just like, we got to go to church though. So we went to church on Sunday, and we have like an afternoon service that starts at 1. So we got out after 3 and around 3, I guess, and chit chat a little while and started getting our stuff, ate something, packed our stuff that was, well, stuff was packed, but we had to get in the car or whatever. And we started making our way down. And so I started driving on the first stretch. And my cousin, God bless him, my cousin, who, if you listen to the beginning of the show, there's an intro that pops in and there's rap music. The Devil's a Liar. That's my cousin Gabriel. If you're going to search his music. And I'm so glad he came. I'm so glad he came. It's so nice to have a man around. And just doing man things here or there. And he also drove in the second half. So it was just really nice. And he ended up being the one when we drove around DC, and it was just really nice. So I started off and the weather got really, really bad on the way, like driving through warp speed where it's just dark and there's stars just coming at you. It was like that. And there are moments where you couldn't see in front. You had to put your hazards on. So it took a long time to get there. So we got in about 3 in the morning, and then in the morning woke up. There were so many people in the hotel, they had to quit breakfast early because they didn't have enough food. And then when my sister had went down and asked about it, she kind of looked like if another person asked me about this breakfast. But there were a ton of people there who were gathering to watch the inauguration because they couldn't have it outside. They had it indoors, so they couldn't have all these people who came down to watch it. But I guess plenty of people still came to DC. Now, from my understanding, the people in the arena were there at least at 6 in the morning, probably before that. And my sister Gina, who worked for the Trump campaign, and after the campaign was over, they switched them over to the inaugural committee. Her hotel was pretty close to the arena, and she could hear them chanting USA, USA at 6 in the morning. That's how she woke up. So you guys woke up my sister right out of her sleep. And I'm like, that's wild. But yeah, they were chanting that way in the morning. That's how she woke up. So I went to a party over the house of the CEO of the Black Conservative Federation. And so they had a private chef there, and the food was really good. And we watched the inauguration, and Trump's speech was wild. It wasn't like his first speech, which was like really, it had a little bit of shade, like, power was in the hands of the elites, and now we're giving it back to the American people. But it was very aspirational, great tone. It was really nice. This one was, you missed, these people tried to arrest me. They tried to take my life. And they've been handling things, mismanaging things with the hurricanes and the fires in California. He just let them have it. I mean, he still talked about things that he was going to do. He's like, the border's a mess, people pouring in from mental institutions. It's like he got to do his stump speech that many of these people wouldn't listen to and only hear through sound bites, and he just gave it right to their faces. And that was cleaned up. There wasn't the weave where he goes out and starts kind of ranting about other things and then brings it back. It was a very concise stump speech, but it was very much it felt like a campaign speech rather than an inaugural address. And I was a little floored by the tone of it, but he said such nice things 8 years ago, and people didn't care. Like, the media still lied about the tone of it. So I'm like, he probably figured, like, I might as well say what I want to say the way I want to say it if they're just gonna lie about it anyway. And so he just blasted. So after that, and we ate and stuff, it was getting kind of late. So we wanted to originally line up at like 4:30 and be in line because they said doors open at 5:30. But from like we ate kind of late, and we were in Virginia and we had to drive back. It wasn't a long distance, but the traffic was bad because they had blocked off something. So it took a while to get back to the hotel, and then it still took us like an hour to get ready and change and stuff into our dresses. So I did find flats. I told you guys before, we wore high-heeled shoes, and it was by the end of the night the shoes were off. And so it was very important that I found flats. And so I originally thought that my dress might be long enough that I could just wear boots. Well, I bought flats, and then my sister's like, I'm just gonna wear like my boots or whatever under my dress because my dress is long enough. I'm like, oh, maybe my dress is long enough. So when I put on my dress, I'm like, oh shoot, this dress is not long enough to put on those boots. So I was like, I have to wear these flats. And my flats were sandals. So they had like a little teeny heel, but they were open toe sandals. And so I had black tights, and I could have maybe just worn the tights, but I'm like, it's not gonna look great with the tights. So, and you guys know it was cold. You guys know it was cold. So I'm like, I'm gonna thug it out and just not wear the tights. I'm gonna wear these sandals, and we're gonna walk to the convention center. And so we figured it wouldn't take that long, and maybe we wouldn't be in line a terribly long time, because at this point in time it was like 5 o'clock when we were leaving. And we walked to where we thought we were supposed to be, and we saw a line. Okay, and the line was long, so we kept going around the block, around the block, around the block. It was a really long line around the block, around the block. And then we got to a point where people kept saying, you go here, that's where the line is. And then eventually it looked like the line was eating itself. And we were very confused. We were very confused, and we didn't know what was happening and where we were supposed to be for a little bit. So so we were in line waiting. At one point we went in the hotel to like warm up a little bit, but the line wasn't moving. And it was after 5:30. It was after 5:30, and people were outside. There are people outside for over 3 hours. I don't know what's the longest amount of time people stayed out, but we ended up being outside for 2.5 hours. This line was one of the craziest things I'd ever been in. Now, the first time in 2017, when we went to the ball, I was like, we should get there early. And we did get there early, and we stood out there for a little while, but it wasn't that long. And we got in very quickly, relatively fast. It was very smooth, very smooth. This was not smooth at all. It was not smooth at all. So the line started to move very slowly. And in the midst of us walking, I noticed one woman who was near us, and she was alone. And then we kept walking and walking, and then she had shifted to the other side of me, and there were these two people in front of us, so a white woman and a white man, and they just kind of kept talking about line cutters and being really passive aggressive. Like, I don't understand how they can live with themselves. I can't understand they can live with themselves. How can they do something? I would never do something like that. And I didn't know exactly who they were talking about. And then that woman who was like behind us, she's like, okay, well, where would you want us to stand? Like, we want you to get out of the line. And the man was just in her face and fussing at her and making her really upset. Like, she was about to cry. And he's like, you're acting like a liberal. You're acting like a liberal. And you're like, you're a Democrat. You're a cheater. And so my sister, who's right under me, Sabrina, she could not stand for this man to be in this woman's face. And so she started going off on the man, and she's like, you a man, you yelling in a woman's face. Don't be talking to her like that. And she was right near me. She didn't cut in the line. And we think they were kind of the people who are yelling about line cutters. We think at some point in time they were actually behind us. And so but the woman who they were fussing at, she had been in the line for a while, like near us. So to our knowledge, she didn't jump the line anyway, but he was trying to go off on everybody who he thought was like cutting the line. And at one point, my cousin, he was like, "Hey man, everybody's going to the same place. Like you need to chill out. You need to chill out." And so so we told the woman to like like stand away from them, stand on the other side of us. And she started crying. We're like, "Don't give them your tears. Don't give them your tears. Don't do that. Don't give them the satisfaction of crying." And and then the woman still kept talking stuff and talking junk. So my sister Sabrina, responded. And so the woman turned around, like made a face. And it was kind of like, I don't care if this is my interpretation of it. It was kind of like, I don't care if you're black, like like I'm not intimidated by you. And so my sister cocked her head too. And then my sister Katrina, she's like, "Turn around. Don't look at her like that. Don't look at her like that." And then my sister, and then it became clear that it wasn't just my sister Sabrina who was there, that she was with other black people. And then the eldest Gina, she was like, "We roll deep." She said, "We roll deep." And so she turned around and started minding her own business. And then the woman who they were harassing was so sweet. And she was been like a lifelong fan of Trump. And and she told a story about how she tried to get on The Apprentice. And we had started telling her stories about Trump. And one time he came to our Lincoln Day dinner, and so my sister had asked a question, and my sister Gina, who was on the team, started talking about him and stuff, and started showing her different pictures. And she was like, "Oh wow!" And we took a picture with her. And she's like, "I'm gonna tell people about the people who saved me tonight." And so she just seemed so sweet. And poor thing, kept coming alone. So what was so dumb about this encounter? Because the line is crazy, and we are all out there for a long time. And we're all trying to get to this one point where you start to enter like a gate. So it's this huge line of people all trying to get through this gate. And the gate has like two lines of like the Liberty Ball and the military ball. And we're all just like, "Where's this gate? Where's this gate?" It's taking so long to get to this gate. So when we get kind of close to where the gate is going to be, there's like this other street where like a swarm of people are coming in. So our line fuses with this other line, and there's just a horde of people. It's not a line anymore. It's like a post-apocalyptic film where there's aliens coming and you're looking up at the sky and everyone's about to, it's like Independence Day or War of the Worlds or something, where there's just a horde of people trying to get to this gate. And I lose most of my family, and my sister Katrina's like, "Take my arm so we don't lose each other." And I can't even like, I have my thick coat on and my hood on, and I can't even like look really a lot behind her. I just have to trust that this arm around me is her. And then there's all these guys who are like coming up and who I had never seen before in the line, but all of a sudden they're pushing past me, and people can't even like control their bodies too much. And and there's women who came in line originally who had no coat, which was crazy to me because you know how cold it is outside. And there's tons of women with high-heeled shoes, military people who don't have like coats on, they just have their jackets. And then there's all these people who are like setting up merch, like, "Hey, we got Trump hats. Hey, we got warm gloves. Hey, we got Trump hoodies." And so, people going around trying to sell stuff. And certainly there were some people who bought stuff just to stay warm. And we keep just trying to get through the horde of people to get inside. And so eventually we make it past the gate, and then the lines kind of start separating from like the military at ball and the freedom ball, Liberty Ball, which is where I was going. And so we start walking, and then there's this big long white tent that you go in, and there's a blast of heat in the tent. But the purpose of this tent is leading you inside anywhere. It's just to thin out the line, I guess, with the barriers. So we went down this long tent and at least we were warm in the tent, but it was just so we could loop around and then go back outside. And so while I'm going down in this tent, I see Officer Tatum, And so I didn't call out or whatever for a selfie because we're all just trying to get to the same place. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll see him inside. I never saw him again. I have met him in person and have talked to him before, but I saw him in the line. The part of me is like, he had to stand in this long line in the horde of people with everyone else. And so we go in the line, and as we're looping around in the tent, I do see my other family members, so they're safe, have escaped the horde. And so we keep walking. And so I start saying to people, I'm like, maybe there is no inside. Maybe there is no ball. Maybe this is a social experiment to just see how far we're willing to go. And I'm joking, but it's just a lot at this point. So we keep walking, and then eventually we get to like this tent area where they go through our bags and our pockets, and they wave us down, and they didn't like check our names on our credentials. They just looked to see that we had them. So that's a little alarming. But eventually we got inside. Then we saw the sign for the Liberty Ball, went inside the convention center, and finally we got it. But it was an ordeal. So we were out 2.5 hours, man. So anyway, we I went to the bathroom, we did our coat check, and then after we did all that, we went around and up the escalators, and then down the escalators, I think is what happened. Maybe, or maybe went down a flight and then down a flight, maybe. But we went a ways, and we got inside to where the festivities were. And in my mind, I'm like, I've seen some pictures of people inside already. And did the program already start? Did we miss some things? And no, nothing had started yet. There's music playing. There's people in there, not as much as there should be, because the line was going so slow. So my sister made some calls to let people know, like, hey, the line is not moving. And if Trump gets here and there's no people in there, he's going to be really upset. So after some calls were made, the line did start moving. And so, people started flooding in. So there was tons of food there. And I think the food was always stocked the entire night. I just made one round with the food. And I didn't get any dessert, but they had like pots. All these places have pot stickers. They had pot stickers. They had like a spicy meatball. They had like a biscuit with some spicy chicken on it. They had like different cheeses and fruits, and they had a cash bar, but they had tables with water and like pop that you could just grab and get stuff. They had stands where you could go make your own coffee and stuff. So they had food. So, and I was concerned, I'm like, are they gonna have enough food for all those people who are gonna be there? They had food stations set up and stuff. The pop seemed to go, but you could still get water. And I'm sure the bar was probably always stocked. I'm not a drinker. So as soon as we came in, We Are the Champions was playing. So we quickly did a quick video of that. So we were looking around a little bit, and then one of my sisters say, "Is that Brett Cooper?" And I look, and I need glasses. And I'm like, maybe. And you don't want to go to a stranger and you're totally wrong. So we start like easing over there toward her and just looking. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's Brett Cooper. So I don't want to go up like, like run to her. And so I just go up to her. I'm like, are you Brett Cooper? And she said, yeah. I'm like, oh, I love your stuff. And I said, like, how are you doing? Congratulations on your marriage. And I said, how are you enjoying farm life? And so she says, that it's great. And so my sister Katrina, she's like, sup, Brett, like really, really casual. And so I asked, could we get a picture? And so we got a picture. And so let me show you guys the picture. You can see all of our dresses and stuff too in the photo. So let me see if I can make that a little bigger. Yeah. So she looked great. And then she mentioned how long the line was. And I was a little horrified. I'm like, Brett Cooper had to stand in that line too. She had to wait 2.5 hours for in that line too. And so there had to be like expedited spaces. And I'm not saying that I think that she's better than everyone else. Just I'm like, some people who you would think are, there had to be like places that VIPs or whatever got in, and we were trying to find that spot, but but no, we just waited in line with everybody else. But yeah, so uh thank you, RC. Everybody looks so nice. Thank you so much. So she was really sweet. And so after we started walking away, and I'm like, oh yeah, she showed my video on a program, like, and they were like, we're surprised you didn't mention that. I'm like, I didn't think about that. So I went back up to her and I said, oh, I just wanted to thank you for showing my video on your show comment section. I did the one with Dylan Mulvaney. And so she's like, oh. And so that was basically the end of that interaction. So so it was really cool to see Brett. So we kept walking around to see what was up, and we ran into a few people that we knew. And then we started to hear that over the speaker that they were introducing someone who was a multiple Grammy winner. And when they started talking, I'm like, this isn't Nelly yet. And I'm like, I know Jason Aldean is speaking. I'm like, I think they're about to introduce Billy Ray Cyrus. And so then they start playing Old Town Row or whatever. I'm going to take my horse to the something. I'm going to ride till I can no more. And so I'm like, Billy Ray Cyrus is here. So we start finding a way to get up to the stage as close as we can. But I mean, there's a ton of people, so we can't get like right up right to it. And so we kept like going up to the side so we could see him. Now, I don't know what happened with Billy. And people were online were like, what happened with Billy Ray Cyrus? I'm like, I do not know. They seem to be having audio problems with the performers all night. Jason Aldean's audio was perfect though, but he couldn't get he said something about, hey, turn on my guitar or whatever. And at one point he's like, well, Carrie Underwood, she sang a cappella, so I'm going to go ahead and just sing. He's like, how many know Achy Breaky Heart? So he starts singing Achy Breaky Heart. And he doesn't do it great. And he doesn't sing it in the original key, or he's singing it really kind of low and lacking energy, and his voice is like shot. But his voice seemed to be shot as soon as he got there. So I don't know what was up with Billy. Like, there were sound issues, sure, some kind of technical issues, but he was shot when he started performing. So I don't know what's up with Billy. And they clearly wanted him to stall, and he let people know that they wanted him to stall, but he did not have it in him to stall, and they had stuff that needed to be worked out, like with the technical stuff. So after he got off the stage, Jason Aldean came on, and he put on like a concert. Cause I don't know, they did at least like 8 songs, maybe more. Like, it was a lot of songs. And I'm only familiar with the Tried in a Small Town song, and that's because of the controversy pretty much. But they did a great job. Like, he's a good performer, good singer, and his band was great. They had good visuals. They were very energetic, and I'm just unfamiliar with his music besides that one song. And every time he did a song, I'm like, bruh, you really not about to do Tried in a Small Town? Every time he did a new song, I'm like, bruh, are you really not about to do it? Are you really not to do it? And then he finally did it. He started saying, this one, kicked up a hornet's nest. And I'm like, oh, he's about to do this song. And he did that. And that was like the only one that I knew. So after we didn't stay by the stage like through all of his songs, and we decided to make our way back so we could, like, I don't know, find our family, the rest of my sister and other folks, see what else is going on and look around, see if we can spot anybody else. And so we I ended up going upstairs because my feet did hurt. And I just wanted to it wasn't just my feet. I felt unwell. It was kind of that time. So I just wanted to sit down for a while. And so my youngest sister went with me, and we went out of the ballroom or the convention floor area, went up the escalator, and we just kind of sat in the hallway for a little while. And I talked a little bit with her, and then she left. And then I talked a little while with some folks, and I saw some few people that I recognized and knew. And then I started to get up, and then I saw a chair, and because I was just sitting on the floor before, so I started sitting in the chair, and then I got a text that said, "We just met Jim Caviezel," and I'm like, I think I sent a crying face, and they're like, "He's still like they said he was just dancing and like in front of them," and like, "Well, he's still here dancing." And so I immediately rise up from the chair and then go hit the escalator and then just go start searching for them. And by the time I get to them, he's gone. And I'm like, well, what happened? And so he was dancing, and they're just kind of like, that looks like Jim Caviezel. And so my sister Katrina goes up to him and is like, "Are you Jim Caviezel?" And he says, "Why do I look like him?" I think he said no at first. And then he's like, "Why do I look like him?" And she said yes. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Jim Caviezel." And so she starts fangirling out. And so Tina, Katrina, and Sabrina, because I don't know why Gina wasn't there, and my cousin wasn't there at the time, but they got a picture with Jim Caviezel. And so I start searching around for him somewhere so I can meet him and take a photo. And so we start looking around for him, and we can't find him. So I didn't get to meet Jim Caviezel. But in the midst of my searching, I spot Ben, who from Am I Racist? Not Ben Shapiro, but Ben, who was the black guy in the movie, who I got to interview before. If you haven't seen that interview, if you go to blackteennews.com, it's right on the front page of my website. And so he's like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to some people." So he brought me to other people who worked with the film, and they thanked me for doing the interview. And we just, had a good time, had some small talk. And he introduced me to a couple of people who worked, with Matt Walsh and other folks on with the Daily Wire. So that was really cool. And I was glad to see them again. And for those of you who don't know, Am I Racist was the last movie that we got to see with our mom before she passed away. She passed away a few days after that. And Ben was really sweet, and he ended up, he called to check up on me and stuff. And after that, but it was cool to see those guys again. And what happened after that? So we kept eventually Trump came after that, and we're kind of like, we hope there's no big speech, because I know he likes the speeches, but his speeches can be so long. So he came, and they did the presidential dance. He danced with his wife, and JD danced with his wife, and we got to see him on stage and stuff. So then the Village People start performing YMCA while they were up there, and they left. Trump and them left, and the Village People did a couple more songs. Now they need to do all them songs. It's already a late night. I understand YMCA, and their sound audio wasn't great either. So I don't know what was going on with the audio. But they do YMCA, they do In the Navy, they do another song, and they do, I think the last song they do is Macho Man. But they did like 4, maybe 5 songs, but maybe it's 4. They could have just did 2 and left it at that. And so people are like, "Where's Nelly?" Because a lot of people did leave after Trump left. Like, it was already late night, and people just out of there. But plenty of people, especially millennials, were like, "Where is Nelly?" Where is Nelly? We want to hear Nelly. So at midnight, they announced Nelly is about to perform. But we don't see them setting up Nelly stuff. We see them setting up a canvas. So we're like, okay, they're clearly about to do a speed painter. And it's like a worship speed painter who does it to like worship music. And they're like worshiping while they paint. But they did a painting of, and you think they're gonna do Jesus because they're doing like a Kari Job song. And I know the song. I really like it. It's like, Lord bless me and keep me. May your face shine upon us. Be gracious to you. Or something. Like, amen. I hear it on K-Love all the time. And I'm like, I hope she doesn't take the whole song to do this. It's not like a terribly long song, but I'm just kind of ready for the night to be over. And my feet at this point do hurt, even with them being flats. So I think her painting is weird because eventually you could tell fairly quickly that she's not painting Jesus, that she's painting a picture of Trump. And I'm thinking, is she painting Trump and like, I don't know, the bullet speeding past his ear and like divine protection over him? And it just ends up being a picture of Trump and he's looking at like a church far off into the distance. And it just seemed to me a strange visual while you're like raising your hands, praising God kind of theatrically, and you're painting a picture of Trump. And I think it's fine to pray and to worship while you're doing your work. Like my sister's an artist who's a Christian, and she paints a lot of landscapes and stuff. And so she's very inspired by different scriptures and stuff like that when she paints. But it just came off a little weird to me. And other people thought it was weird. So it was weird to me. And I was unfamiliar with that particular speed painter, but it was weird. It was strange. And it seemed like a weird act to have before Nelly came on, who was very famous for a song, It's Getting Hot in Here, so take off all your clothes. So it very strange, very strange. So after she's finished, they still need time to set up Nelly. And so people are like asking, like, how much longer do you think it's gonna take? How much longer do you think he's gonna? And I'm like, it seems like maybe they're having trouble with the sound and they're just trying to make sure that's right. And so I go to the bathroom, and by the time when I finally decide to go to the bathroom, that's when he gets on the stage. And so I think that was just maybe the first song that I kind of missed, but I can still hear it. But people, are happy that he's performing. He just does old stuff, and his stuff is really iconic. I've never searched for a Nelly song, I think, in my entire life. Like, we weren't allowed to really listen to secular music growing up. But they would play stuff on the bus, and his stuff you could hear in movies. I've probably heard Hot in Here the most out of all of his stuff, but I've probably heard the most just watching Austen Land. If you've ever seen Austen Land, it's about a Jane Austen enthusiast who pays a bunch of money to go to this special place, Austen Land, where they can basically have actors act out some kind of fantasy where you get with a man and stuff. And they asked her like, hey, can you play something on the piano? And so she's like, I only know one song. And so she starts playing It's Getting Hot in Here on the piano, and they make her stop. And because it's not appropriate for a woman of that era. And at the end, they're in their like Regency dresses. Maybe it's not Regency, but maybe it's the wrong era. But they're in their dresses, and they're having fans like, I am getting so hot. And it's a fun like in credit scene. So people enjoyed it. Now I ended up posting a snippet of it on TikTok, and some people were like, these people don't even know his songs. They don't even know who he is, and it looks dry in there, and there's a crowd. And I'm just like, there's a lot of people there. I know, because a lot of people still showed up to the coat check at the end of the night. I'm like, I thought all y'all left. All y'all are still here. But there's people there. I kind of wish there was a bigger crowd, because he got a lot of flack from people, but there's still a lot of people there. it wasn't the hypest crowd in the world, but people were certainly dancing. There's one woman maybe in her 50s behind me just really like dancing, knowing every single lyric. And who doesn't know who Nelly is or hasn't heard a little bit of a song? Even if you don't think you know who Nelly is, if you hear Hot in Here, you probably have been like, oh, I have heard that song before. And people stayed to hear him. I don't even he might not have started performing till 12:30, maybe some time between 12:30 and 12:45, you know, and then he did a couple songs, not like whole songs, but it was enough of the songs, and he did several of them. So people hating and being like, "Oh, these people don't even know who he is." Who doesn't know who he is, and who would stay who didn't know who he was after all that time? So he was the last thing of the night. And before he started, they played a video talking about his family and how they're military people. And so he comes from a multi-generational like military family. And so he respects the country, loves his country, wants to give back to the country. So his attitude is, they go die for you. I can at least perform at an inauguration. And so there's been different TikToks that people have pointed out Nelly mentioning Trump and different stuff throughout the years. So he's always liked Trump, apparently. So people who know him ought to know that this isn't so out of the realm of possibility with him performing. So anyway, he did a great job. They had dancers, they had good visuals, and you know, he's a good performer. A lot of people in my comments were like, "Oh, Nelly is so fine. He's so fine." So after that was over, the night was done. We went to coat check, got our coats, which there was a long line for that, but it moved fast. And then we had to walk back to the hotel. And it was hard. It wasn't that long, but by the end of the night, it was so hard to get back to the hotel. And then we got to the hotel and, you know, took off our dresses and our shoes. And I didn't even want to walk on the carpeted floor because my feet were just burning. So I, you know, I didn't I had someone hand me like a face wipe so I could wipe the makeup off my face, and I took my dress off and I just, you know, went to bed. By the morning I was still sore like in my back, and my knee and my ankles hurt. The bottom of my feet didn't hurt too much. And then after that we had to drive home. But the weather wasn't bad, so at least there was that. So anyway, that was the ball. That was the ball. My sisters also met a comedian too that I was unaware of. I don't know him, but he was famous, and they knew him, and then they act like I was crazy because I didn't know him. So they met more celebrities than I did. I don't know how I missed all these people that they got to see, but it was a cool night. It was a cool night for sure. So yeah, I had a good time. I just wish the line wasn't so bad. I felt so bad for women at the end. There was one girl who was like, who had heels on, and so she had her arms around two people who were trying to help her walk out of there. And I felt awful for him. I tried to warn people in advance that there was nowhere to sit. And I talked about it on my show. I talked about it in other places online. Unfortunately, like TikTok and stuff did not want to make my stuff go viral. I could have saved some feet out there. I really could have. I try to warn people. So there are people who had to be out there for like 2.5, 3, maybe 4 hours. And then there's like nowhere to sit when you go in there, and they're wearing heels like. So I felt bad about that for sure. So I was grateful that I had already learned my lesson in the past, because I don't know how. I guess I just wouldn't walking around with no shoes for like most of the time. But I don't know how you could manage to do that outside though. So especially how cold it was, and it's also outside. So I don't know how those people lived at the end of the night. I don't know how they made it. But it was cold because I didn't have any stockings on. So my toes were exposed. But at least they were cute. So it was a nice night. was a nice night. Try to see if there's any questions about the night or anything. No questions that I see. But there was someone as we were walking to the ball who saw us. There's a black guy. He's like, "Y'all done lost your mind." We just ignored him. It's like, bro, we won. Just shut up, go about your way. You know, is what it is. We had a good night. We can enjoy it. We deserve to enjoy it. My sister Sabrina didn't get to go before. I guess she had to work or something. And I don't know if she'd ever been to a Trump rally either. Like she went to the rally when Mike Pence announced in Novi, but she had never been to a Trump rally. She always had to work or something came up, and she didn't get to go to the ball. And so she's like, this man has to win just so I can go to this ball. Like he has to win just so I can go. So he did win, and there was some issues with like the tickets and stuff populating or whatever. So we were waiting for a minute for our tickets to come through. And but everything worked out, except it was just hard to get in. But we made it through, and everybody said it was worth it to go. And hopefully next time we go to something like that, maybe I will be covering the news on the ground, or my sister will be some fancy senator person, so we don't have to go through the same stuff, because it was rough. But I can't imagine. I don't know why the line situation was so bad. I don't understand. And I feel bad for so many people who think that's the only kind of experience with these balls. I'm not aware of that happening before, and it didn't happen before with Trump, so there was some kind of error there. From my understanding, from other people in the line who talked to like military and the police, they didn't have any direction on where to send people or whatever. So it was just chaos in the line eating itself. And I don't know who messed up on that end, but at least we got inside. At least we got inside. So there's the story about the ball. We had a good night and a good drive home, obviously safe and sound. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the tale and the stories and the news and all that stuff. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com, because it does cost to stream, run my site, all that stuff. So you guys can support. I very much appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that we have available at blacktnews.com, like this cool goat hoodie. We got the "I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For" t-shirt and other things as well. It's the weekend. We got Black History Month coming up fast. If you guys like historical fiction fantasies, you guys can check out The Color of God's Eyes. Charlotte is a young slave woman who discovers that she has superpowers and obviously uses them to escape. But there's more to it than that. It's kind of like X-Men meets American Civil War. And I love these characters. I love Charlotte. I love John. And I love Cooper. Cooper's not on the cover or anything, but he is a very optimistic young man who is very aware of how terrible the world is, but very much works to make it better. So he's a character I wish that many people could be today. So anyway, thank you guys, and you enjoy your weekend. Stay safe out there and stay warm, because it is cold. It's warmer today than it was the other day, but it's cold out there. Very cold. God bless.